from the News Channel 5 Network. This is Que Pasa Nashville.
Bienvenidos and welcome to Que Pasa Nashville. My name is Cristina Allen and thank you for joining us. It's been really exciting because I think when President Obama came a few months ago, he really just emphasized our immigrant community and the growth of both our Latino and undocumented community, but as well as our immigrant and refugees that are here. In doing so, Nashville has had to adapt, and in one initiative that's taking place amongst Metro schools is hiring a mariachi director. With me today is Edwin Imer Santiago. Mucho gusto, the new mariachi director for Metro schools. Very exciting to read. You know, you just newly got appointed, but tell me exactly what is this program within Metro schools to have a mariachi director?
Well, I'd say the greater picture is the Music Makes Us initiative, which has been around for a few years, headed up by Lori Schell and also Dr. Nola Jones in the mayor's office and various partners in the community from the music business, etc. And so there's different programs that are non-traditional that are supported by Music Makes Us, and one of them is mariachi, and it started in 2012, so we're in our third academic year. I was not the original director. I came on board beginning of last school year, fall of 2013. But we're just teaching students either how to learn about mariachi music for the first time, or maybe their parents, you know, they come from Mexico or from backgrounds where mariachi was heard at home and they want to improve upon their skills or take the past generation's love of the music and pass it on, you know.
And let me take a step back. So Music Makes is a joint effort between Metro Schools, Mayor Carl Dean, the music industry and community. And I believe CMA, Country Music Foundation, funds a lot of this initiatives. But and what other kind of programs are within this Music Makes Us program?
Well, and if I understand it correctly, the first thing is to be able to support the traditional programs, so continue to support band, string orchestra programs, choral, and then the newer programs that are the non-traditional ones, such as mariachi, world percussion, I want to say there's bluegrass, hip-hop as well, to name a few, there may be more, are the non-traditional programs that are now have been in existence for a few years and are helping students take some of the modern music and incorporate it in music education. And
I love it that a contemporary curriculum that embraces new technologies and reflects a diverse musical landscape. Obviously, with the schools you're in, which is Wright Middle School and Glencliff High School, which is in the heart of the Latino community, this reflects perfect with your audience, isn't it?
Absolutely. I'm sure research was done before they decided where to put the schools, and I think they're considering in the future a couple of other areas of Nashville, but definitely where we're at, I mean, the landscape is so ethnically diverse. I would say probably half of my students are Latinos, but it's also, in addition to having Latinos, we've got Kurdish students, Somali students,
it's the music,
just a whole bunch of students, not to mention students that may not speak Spanish. And we tell them, it doesn't matter if you speak Spanish or not, it doesn't matter if you've never played an instrument, we're going to take you from step one, you know, this is a guitar or vihuela, and we'll teach you about the history of the music and how to play it, of course. And
we're going to talk a little bit about the instruments in a bit, but kind of tell me about your background, because as Santiago, I mean, obviously you have Latin descent, so where are you from originally?
Well, don't hold it against me. I know we're in the South. I was born in Ohio, in Lorain, Ohio, to Puerto Rican parents, so both of them were born in Rio Grande, Puerto Rico. My wife, Liza, is from Caguas, Puerto Rico, so I wasn't born on the island, but I've always lived in communities where my heritage has been, it's around me, you know, the food, the music. So growing up near Cleveland, Ohio, and then living in Orlando, Florida, and eventually moving to Nashville, where I was surprised when I moved here 8 years ago in 2007 that there would be so many Latinos here. But yeah, my background comes from a Puerto Rican background. I went to Ohio State. I studied meteorology, so how to forecast the weather. I actually thought I was going to be a broadcast meteorologist, and I have a few tapes at home, VHS, with me trying to, you know, standing in front of the chroma key. But my passion for music led me in a different direction, so I studied jazz, a lot of jazz and contemporary styles, as well as classical. But long story short, I was teaching band here for Metro Public Schools from 2007 through 2013, when the position opened where I knew they needed a mariachi director, a second one, to replace the founder of the program. And I was interviewed, and I told them, look, I can speak Spanish, I'm not afraid to get in front of the community and recruit, and I'm willing to learn the music, but I do come from a Puerto Rican background, mainly playing trumpet, you know, there's a lot to learn. And they gave me the opportunity, and they've helped me with training, and and the community understands. But I think it fits well with the title of our program, which is Mariachi Internacional de Nashville. So Nashville's international mariachi. So here you have a Puerto Rican director, a Puerto Rican American, directing Mexican music. So.
But mariachi transcends to all Latin countries, doesn't it? More or less. I know, because I've been to Japan, there was a Tokyo mariachi player there. But does mariachi transcend to all countries that have a little bit of mariachi in them, or is it more just Mexican?
Well, it's Mexican music. But I would say in the last 30, 40 years, it has been accepted by many Latin American countries. I'm currently reading a book about mariachi, the roots of it, and it talks about how even back in the 1950s, Central American countries and South American countries were inviting some of the top groups like Mariachi Vargas de Tecatitlan to come perform because they wanted to know more about this music. And so I think more and more Latin American countries are saying, come to us, play or teach us what this beautiful music is, because it's very elegant. It's passionate, and in some ways it's Mexico's country music.
Right.
You know, where it's telling a story. So that's one way I explain it to the community when they're like, "What's mariachi?" I said, "Well, it's kind of Mexico's version of country music. It's telling a story about life."
And so, growing up in Las Cruces, New Mexico, I will have to say we have the International Mariachi Conference there every year. So I hope you get to go, because grew up listening to that music both in New Mexico as well as where my mom's from in Mexico, because New Mexico is right there on the border. But and you know, hear the songs like Guadalajara and the pride of the people coming in, the traditional folklore dancing that goes on with the mariachi music. It is your home country music, and you feel the emotion when I hear it. I'm sure here in Nashville, because we don't have a lot of generations yet, and we don't have a lot of older abuelos, grandparents, having the children learn this traditional song must be very much a pride for the parents. And great support from those parents?
Absolutely, and sometimes you'll see the parents during the concerts. We typically do a winter concert in December and then a spring concert in May, but then there's different performances in the community, and you'll see parents and community members who will be in tears because of just it touches them. It takes them somewhere where they had been before, and in some of the instances, parents will say, "We never thought in Nashville we would hear the music of our fathers, you know, of our parents, of our country." And so I think that's a beautiful thing, to be able to, like you said, have a musical style that resonates with parents in such a way that they want to be supportive. So with that
role in having music in, let's say, Glencliff High School, which is one of the most diverse schools, like over 10, about 40 languages spoken in that school, and coming from all different, just music lovers playing in a mariachi band, does it make them more committed to school? Is there a correlation between being a part of the band as well as doing well in studies?
There definitely is a very strong correlation, and Music Makes Us, as a matter of fact, published back in, I want to say, November of 2013, so a little bit over a year and 2 months ago, a study where Metro Schools hired a third party to do research on some of our own high schools, and we found that students, not just in mariachi, but in the arts, in music, in dance, etc., tend to do better. Academically, their behavior was better, so there was less suspensions.
And graduation rates.
Graduation rates were
especially
higher.
with first generations, I'm
Absolutely.
sure.
But I think specifically to the mariachi program, my discipline problems are almost none. I mean, maybe they're talking a little bit, but that's to be expected. Yeah, cell phone. But they really want to learn the music, and in some cases there are students where teachers will come to me and say, "Mr. Santiago, so-and-so is struggling in this other class, English, math, science. Can you help me? Because I know he loves your class." And so that's kind of a way to balance, yeah. Like, hey, the passion you put into practicing your instrument and learning the mariachi repertoire, you need to do this in your other classes. Because music can teach you discipline. When you're there practicing for whatever amount of time, half hour, an hour, you can apply that to other areas of life.
So have you been able to expose them? So I grew up, let's say, Vicente Fernandez, and I worked for a company that sponsored his tour in the United States, and it really transcended. I used to work for Budweiser, and Budweiser sponsored Vicente Fernandez and his tour, which made sense because he's just that Latin iconic Mexican, you know, everyone wants traditional older generation, but once again, I use that word again, transcends to all generations. Are they familiar with some groups that have mariachi now? I mean, is the pit bull using any of this? I mean, can they see the modern love of it too? I mean, do they have that, I guess, correlation as well?
I think so. And when you're speaking about someone like Vicente, the kids, especially the ones who come from Mexican descent, they knew him already day one. They were like, hey, are we going to learn some of Chente's music?
Yeah, Chente, yeah.
And that's amazing when you're seeing kids that are middle school, high school, they know about this gentleman and like you said, how iconic he is. So we try to deal definitely with some of his songs, like El Rey is one of the songs that they love to play that he popularized. But one thing that I am being challenged with in a good way is, can we take some modern tunes? For example, there's a bachata, I'm not sure if he wrote it, but Prince Royce sings Incondicional, and that has been a popular song now for a couple years. So at the middle school level, I did an arrangement of Incondicional in mariachi style.
So.
And I'll probably be taking a rock song here in the next couple months and preparing it in a style of mariachi for my advanced high school group. So teaching them that we can take other styles of music and just repackage it in the mariachi styles, just to give them ideas of what they can do, but always paying respect first and foremost to the tradition. So there's a tradition, but sometimes you can mold it a little bit. And we see YouTube clips quite frequently during our classes, like, check out what this middle school's doing in Las Vegas.
So it's a huge program.
Places.
The mariachi program is a national, everyone's catching fire to get mariachi programs. I did not realize that until I researched it. So why is that? I mean, reflected the community or just reflected of the popularity of the music?
I think that it's a combination of both. I think especially with the numbers of just Latino population in general is growing, whether by those who move into the country or by birth. I think it was just bound to happen, and this is the time for it. But I think a lot of folks who are not Latinos are seeing just the beauty of the music, or even like myself, that I knew of mariachi growing up, but I was more into salsa and merengue and then jazz and other styles. But the music is really beautiful and accessible. You don't have to have a full group. If you've got a guitar and you learn a few chords, you can start learning how to play mariachi and enjoying the beauty of it.
We're going to take a quick break, Edwin, and we're going to continue and come back about the mariachi program at Metro Schools. We're going to talk about the instruments, the uniforms, and the beauty of the performances. We'll be right back with Que Pasa Nashville.